No, I can see just to the top of the new media show sign.
I wonder why, because on my camera view, you can see the whole new media show sign.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting. What you see get back is a little bit different. All right. So I think I've got everything up and running. I'm flailing here because of I got two live things going on my homepage. Okay. The recorders are turned on. The streams are on. Oh, I'm not recording. Let me hit that button. All right. I think let me take a shot of Red Bull here and we'll go. Have you got a light that changes back there?
Yeah, it's changing color.
Oh, so the Christmas tree effect. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's one of those Wi-Fi LED lights now that you can change the color spectrum on them.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Todd. Definitely fine. Well, lots of stuff going on. This podcast medium is getting controversial at times, and people doing interesting stuff. There's always a whole list of stuff that we can talk about. That's for sure. And not the least of which of what's going on over at Clubhouse. My goodness.
Oh, I haven't been watching what's been going on at Clubhouse.
It's exploding over there, especially around podcasting and all sorts of stuff going on over there. Conversations going all 24 hours a day, big groups of 300 or 400 people go until 3 or 4 in the morning. And also, it's crazy over there.
How much authoritative and how much just gab?
Oh, there's big time people over there. It's not something that the industry needs to look the other way on. This is something significant brewing over here. So, just the number of people involved and the diversity over there and the topic diversity is just incredible. I was in a session last night that had like 400 people in it, and it had some podcasters that have been doing podcasting for a long time. So
where are people finding the time?
Well, you just squeeze it in when you can.
Squeeze it in.
Instead of watching TV, you jump into one of these rooms. It's all audio. So
Rob, I haven't
dressed up or anything.
I haven't watched TV and.
Yeah, I know, but people are liking it because there's connection there, right?
Yeah,
people are talking to each other. It's almost like going to a podcasting conference in a lot of ways. That type of conversation is going on, and people are breaking up into individual rooms, and they're having private conversations, plus they're having public conversations, and people are recording their episodes over there too.
Okay. I thought that wasn't allowed.
Well, it technically isn't. And I did hear the founder of Clubhouse talk about podcasting a little bit, and he was a little bit critical of podcasting because he thought it was too complicated to get started with. So I guess if you think about it from his perspective, the ability to just load this app and use your phone is pretty easy and pretty simple, right?
Right.
The audio quality is not great. That's one of the downsides of it. But it does get people talking, and it gets, a lot of the topics over there are just as valid as topics that are podcasted about. The podcasters over there typically don't think it's a replacement for podcasting, but, it could be a little bit of a filler of time that people spend with audio content that's not podcasting. So I don't know.
A filler of time that isn't podcasting.
Right.
Well, I need a clone.
I know. Well,
I can't do this 24 hours a day and survive. It's just another thing. So I'm just
Yeah, but Todd, without the podcasting conferences, this is the only valid replacement that I've seen so far.
And you don't have to pay $15,000 to be a sponsor.
Right. And you can create a club over there
Well,
And
you have
I
to,
see podcasting clubs over there that have 5,000 people in them.
but don't you have to have some sort of status in there before you can create a club?
I think it helps. I think it helps to have a creator of a club that has a strong network. There's no question, and
I
that's
think
kind of what you've seen.
I haven't been back in the app since we tried it that day when I signed up. So, because I could hardly contain myself with irritation on some of the people that were
Yeah.
in
You
there.
take the good with the bad over there, just like any other social networking platform. And in its fundamental nature, it is a new social networking platform.
But what value are you doing for your show by hanging out over there all the time?
Well, you get a chance, at least my experience, you get a chance to talk about the stuff you're doing in podcasting and helping other people. I get asked a lot of questions about how to podcast and, how to monetize, and, people will, come up with these topics and talk about podcasting issues, and multiple people will contribute to it, and you have an opportunity to rebut other people, and you have an opportunity to share best practice, and at least that's what I'm using it for. So it's not.
Tell them to come listen to this show.
Well, that's part of what I say in there too. I say, I do a podcast topic show, 3 hours a week,
Right.
And it's on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So, I can direct people over to get deeper stuff if they like what I say, right? They'll pop over and check out the show. So.
Well, maybe we ought to do a show over there one time. I don't know how to do it and keep the live going, but.
Well, you have to do it. It looks like most people that are doing podcasts over there, and I wouldn't necessarily jump into that too wholeheartedly yet. I think you're exactly right on your observation that it is a little bit not necessarily what the Clubhouse folks want. But most people are using the Rodecaster, Rodecaster.
Yeah.
Because it has that Bluetooth connection capability built into it, right?
Or you can wire it up straight.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can't plug in your iPhone or whatever into an adapter and then plug it into your mixer.
Right.
You should be able to do that. It's just it's a little bit more of a complicated setup. I mean, I'm using my MV7 microphone with it, so I'm trying to push the envelope on audio quality over there.
Right.
I'm trying to get it better.
Huh.
So,
well,
yeah.
Got to think about it. Right now, I'm in the midst of. I did 2.5 hours today of CES coverage live. Matter of fact, anyone that's on the Facebook page, the next team member is live right now with a guest, and then tomorrow I've got my 1,500 episode. So I've kind of been.
Yeah, you're busy.
I'm busy, and plus
1,500 episodes, Todd. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And plus my JOB, I got to run a podcasting company, and it's, there's nothing to do there at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
Not at all. Especially this week.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
my calendar is Monday. Let me look at how much time I had. What day say 13? Monday, I had 30 minutes over 9 hours. Tuesday, wow. I had an hour free yesterday, over 10 hours. Today, I've had, of course, I did the CES thing, so that took up some time. I've had a half hour today so far of free time. Tomorrow, I have maybe 45 minutes. I'm booked up full of podcasters that are freaking out.
Are they freaking out about the censorship stuff that's going on?
Yeah.
Takedowns?
Yeah. And one of them, and most
really impact podcasting.
No, really? I can't say yet.
I'm not feeling any pressure.
I'm not, and I'm reassuring people that they shouldn't feel pressure. But there's been some interesting things happen, and I'm concerned. I have concerns. It may be a complete coincidence, but a show in a certain genre was removed from a platform, and I'm not going to point anybody out now because I don't have all the facts, and I've sent an email and asking why, and the content of the show was
what you would expect it to be,
religious in nature,
given the totality of the situation that's going on.
Nothing to do with politics, religion.
Religion.
But
I wouldn't have expected that.
It's a show that's been on my radar for a while. So I don't say that they're
rationale.
I don't say that it's extreme, but I just leave it at that. I'm watching very, very closely, and it may be just purely a coincidence.
Does it stray into political views? Extreme political views?
I think it has strong opinions.
Okay.
I don't think, and that's. I'll just leave it at that. But
I mean, but political views isn't enough to get taken down.
No,
it's not.
No, and I keep telling people the same exact thing. I mean, it's like I'm pouring ice on people. I'm like, if you're not spewing hate or talking about doing something to somebody talking about harming someone,
right?
You should not be having an issue.
I had a call just prior to doing the show with a podcaster that I know that was top of mind, and they wanted to ask about it.
And here's the interesting thing: I've been asked multiple times, "What infrastructure are you on? Who do you have that's hosting? Who's hosting your media?"
Oh, like a CDN?
Yeah, asking about our infrastructure because they're saying, "Can you get?"
Oh, you're talking about, so if you're on like Amazon Web Services or something like that?
Well, I'm just saying they want to know who we do business with, and are we at risk? Blueberry, they asked me, are Blueberry at risk of being deplatformed because we have lots of content? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's the same with Libsyn too. We control most all the infrastructure. Yeah.
So, but Rob, you don't really control the infrastructure because what has happened in the last week was DNS entries were removed. So,
really?
DNS entries? Yeah. DNS entries were zeroed out. So people were the site that's been all over the news was absolutely unequivocally completely.
Well, who was responsible for that?
The domain providers of the world and people that control DNS.
I thought that was ICANN.
ICANN doesn't manage DNS. It's a lot of individual companies. It's a thing, and I don't attest to be a.
Well, there's registrars, right?
There's registrars, yeah.
And if you're a registrar, you're typically a web hosting platform,
right? But I can have my DNS managed by anybody. I don't have to have my DNS managed by the company that does my website. So
that's true. There are separate DNS services companies.
So anyway, long story short, that particular site was completely it's zero. It comes up 0000. It doesn't resolve anywhere. Now, again,
you can move, right? You can move your DNS.
Yeah, if you can find somebody that'll do business with you. But
there must be a significant reason why somebody's not wanting to work with them, right?
Let's not get into that whole conversation. Let's go back to the podcast thing.
I don't know. I mean, why else would they? Anyway.
Well, so here's my thing. There's a lot of podcasters are now waking up and saying, yeah, it's so ironic. And I'm not saying there's no issue.
Well, let's be careful here. Let's be careful and not inflame the situation.
No, there's no there's no issue.
Right.
There's no issue that I am aware of, except for one potential show that, again, I have I got to get the details and find out if it was technical or if the show is really removed for whatever reason. And long story short, I'll find that out. So it could be technical, again, I'm third party at this point. I'm not first party involved. So, So I don't want to add any flames to the fire at all.
Right.
But you're going to have to you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work hard to be deplatformed.
Seems like it to me.
I think so. But there is rightfully so a huge amount of concern from certain types of shows and certain groups. Huge amount of concern. Huge. I mean, huge. And I host to be honest with you, I don't know the makeup of the shows we host every show underneath the sun, just like you guys do.
Yeah, it crosses all
genres. All genres, right?
Right.
And
size as well.
And I don't go browsing the catalog and looking for, we don't do that.
You can't. There's too many.
I need 10 clones, 100 clones of me,
Right.
So
it's just not practical.
No, it's not. But
right.
Everyone breathe.
Right.
But is it
not falling in? Right.
So, and it's kind of funny because I've said for years, don't build your castle on land you rent. Well, this time they dropped the nuclear bomb on the land that was rented, and all the water, power, everything was shut off. So that's, I think, what's got people more concerned than anything was the complete icing of content platform. So, and that's a whole discussion for another show. And right. So those types of events get podcasters that are concerned about these kinds of things very, very concerned.
Right. I mean, I did see the news that Twitter took down 70-some thousand Twitter accounts the other day.
Well, I keep telling people too that platforms and apps have been deplatformed for a long time. This is not the first. It happens all the time for terms of service violations.
Fortunately, it's reasonably rare, though. I mean, I wouldn't say that this.
It's not as rare as you think. But
at least in the podcasting space.
Oh, in the podcasting space, no.
It's very rare.
Very rare. Right. I can probably, on one hand,
Yeah. I think there's been I can think of maybe 5-6 shows over my entire career.
I'm only getting you on my right channel. That's weird. Huh? Yeah. It's not that many.
Over 16 years, I can only think of maybe at the most 10 shows.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something going on?
Yeah. You dropped out of my left channel, so it's probably my my mixer. But I don't know. I just I don't think there's a big reason for concern. But I will say this is that it's just a wake-up call for everyone, all creators, because people are being banned off YouTube and everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Have your own website, but you're not going to be guaranteed even on that. So if something's bad enough.
Right. Yeah.
But I've taken just a few calls on that topic, and but it's not even anything we've had an internal discussion about in the company. No. So it's not like something where it's come up and we've said, "Do we need to prepare?" No, it's.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it is kind of interesting when you really think about it. How there's so much going on, around our government and what's happening over there and all these takedowns and all this stuff going on. And it's like crickets with podcasting from the standpoint of any controversy around it.
But
I think it's interesting to think about.
Well, the question is, are we next?
Yeah. I suppose.
I need to check this mixer. I'm going to flip you on here, Rob. So I'm going to let you talk for a minute. I'm sorry. It's just driving me crazy here. What's going on audio wise?
It's possible that we're next, but I just don't know that there's that much content going on in the podcast space that's really got people all riled up to crack down on it. I think that there's probably still some shows out there that are that are pushing the envelope, and that's okay. If I think each of the podcast hosting platforms has their own terms of service that has more or less restrictions on the type of content that's okay on their platforms, and I would just advise everybody that's getting into podcasting or is currently has a show hosted, just go read the terms of service that's available for your podcast host and have a clear understanding of where those lines are. I think that's an important thing. And it gets back to whether or not, a company can have terms of service and not really be all that aggressive in enforcing those terms of service, but nonetheless, I think if you're hosting on a particular platform, I think it's really helpful for you as a content creator to thoroughly understand what the terms of service are on that platform,
right,
and read through those and try and understand them as best you can. Some of them are written rather cryptically, and sometimes it's hard to fully interpret, or they're so broad in their wording that it's hard to pin it down precisely. But I think it's important to understand what the terms of services are if you're a podcaster.
And at the same point, I will tell you this, and I just know because of the DNA of our company, and I won't speak for any other company, we will vigorously defend the right for you to have freedom of speech.
Right.
If someone comes and tries to say...
And Libsyn's the same way. We have a pretty open terms of service. It doesn't have a lot of restrictions in it.
And if someone comes to us and says, you need to take this content down because of this, and it doesn't violate our terms of service, we're not going to take that content down.
Right. Now, we both, Todd and I, need to say that we can't get in the middle of any other listening platform.
Nope.
That may take you down because of their terms of service.
And there are
talk about what we service our customers with, and what Spotify or Google or Apple do is you got to go read their terms of service.
And we've seen a significant number of shows being taken down for especially one particular syndication destination. A couple a week get taken down from one particular platform. We see the most.
Right. And I think we all probably know who that is.
So I'll just leave that. I think we've talked about it on this show already. But sometimes it's because of music or because you have violated that particular platform's terms of service, and your show has been flagged by their system, and you're off. And we get people that get upset. I'm like, hey, it's not. You go talk to them. There's nothing we can do.
Well, terms of service spans on a lot of areas in podcasting. It can span from metadata to how you label or title your podcast, to what you have in your description, your practices around keywords. Yep.
So, Rob.
Well, I think we need to explain to the audio listeners what you just did, Todd. Why don't you go ahead and explain?
So Rob has a new decoration in his studio. Rob, I'm sorry. I don't have any pictures of myself in my office. Well, I have one with a fan back here, but that is a painting of you with your cat.
And there is a microphone
right by your face. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Podcasting together, and there's a microphone in front of my face too. So I thought it was very meta for what we do here. So cats need to have a voice too, right, Todd?
Well, my cats are about to be devoiced because I can't. I'll tell you what happened. And everyone sees I got these great big these beautiful sound conditioning panels in the studio, right? And you guys know I've got two cats in the studio in the office right now. Well, the one audio conditioning panels, they have found that to be quite the place to sharpen their nails. And I was doing a show yesterday, and I looked over here just to the right of me, and I saw cat scratch marks on my beautiful sound conditioning panels, and I'm lucky I was still on the air. So
You were not happy.
not happy, and they're perfect. The cats, they're gonna, and I've gave them this catnip thing to scratch their but they are locked in the kitchen because I'm coming up with a solution. I don't know what I'm gonna do because I've taken a priority mailbox, pounded it against the wall, and wrapped it around the corner where they were scratching. But I'm thinking, 1, 2, and someone's going to come in here and think that I've got some fetish for the U.S. mail and putting priority. So I've got to come up with some plexiglass, or not plexiglass, but plastic or something to. These cats got to go. You start damaging my sound conditioning panels that I spent big bucks for.
Wow.
And aesthetically, they're going to mess the. So yes, real world podcaster problems.
But I thought I would shake things up a little bit. Add a little fun to my background.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Mike in front of the cat, Mike in front of you. It's just that's very. Those of you that are come over to newmediashow.com and then scroll ahead to about the 25-minute mark, and you'll be able to see Rob and his cat in the picture on the video.
Switch the camera so they can actually
I did
see it better.
I did. I had you.
Okay.
You can't see when I switched you, but I had you on for a while.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my God, too funny.
So anyway, I thought it was also interesting this past week that the Breaker podcast, the social podcast app Breaker, the actual app went to a different company than Twitter.
And I'm familiar with that company, and they've been trying to buy up apps.
Yeah, Player FM.
Yeah,
they've been working with those folks. Actually, Maple Media has actually been around in podcasting for quite a while, playing around in various places in the medium for many years. But their recent acquisition of Player FM, and I guess they also acquired Podkicker.
This is
their ad Breaker.
This is the third app, so we can see their strategy: buy all the apps of the companies that either went out of business or got acquired, and they don't want their app no more.
Bargain shopping is what they call that, Todd.
Yeah.
And then the team that built Breaker went over to Twitter. So that was an acqui-hire is what you call that.
Yeah.
That was an acquire the talent.
Yep.
Probably a bunch of engineers, would be my guess.
Sure.
To go over and create something for Twitter.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting to see what that turns out to be. Maybe they're seeing what's happening with Clubhouse, and Twitter doesn't want to get lost in the.
Oh, they're getting smoked.
In the stampede over to Clubhouse.
Well, and Twitter already had a huge exodus too. So.
Right. That's true.
And I posted a picture on my Facebook page yesterday that it was a graph that showed. See if I can find it here without disrupting the audio in the show. And it was for those who consider which messaging app they should use. Here's a quick look at what they collect and see on your phones. So Signal,
I saw that. Yeah.
Signal is one. The only personal data Signal stores is your phone number. Telegram, contact info, contacts, and user ID. WhatsApp collects device ID, user ID, advertising data, purchasing data, course location, phone number, email address, contacts, phone interaction, crash data, performance data, other diagnostic data, payment info, customer support, product interaction, or other user content. Now, how much does Facebook collect? Listen to this.
Three times as much. All right.
Purchase history, other financial info, precise location, course location, physical address, email address, name, phone number, other user contact info, contacts, photo or video, gameplay content, other user content, search history, browsing history, user ID, device ID, product interaction, signal, device ID signal, advertising data, other usage data, crash data, performance data, other diagnostic data, other data types, browsing history, health, fitness, payment info, photos or videos, audio data, gameplay, they doubled that one, gameplay contents, customer support, other user content, search history, sensitive info, iMessage, email address, phone number, and search history.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So
No wonder Facebook's making lots of money.
We'll see until the great purge continues if Signal gets taken out. Because they're not collecting enough information for the overlords, for our big tech overlords.
Right.
Anyone that's been listening to my show for a while, I already warned you.
Well, you love them and you hate them at the same time, right?
And it's not even related to this.
You can't live without them.
Well, that's part of the. We can get in a whole conversation here, so I'll stop right there.
I guess that kind of encapsulated.
Well, okay. So here's my issue: the internet used to be a web browser and a connection to and you could go to every website you want.
And not everybody was using it.
Right. The internet now is this.
Right, and everybody's on it.
And now this has a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's always had a gatekeeper, though. Smartphones have always had gatekeepers.
That's true. So this is why, I could have made so much money as a consultant. I'd have said, you're going to launch what kind of website? Who's going to be on this? Really? I think you need a private web app or a public web app, PWA, and you need your own iron and you need your own data center.
Right.
And don't worry about making an iOS or Google app because they're going to get banned anyway. So I think what this will probably do, regardless of the situation that, involved it. And actually, I would recommend people read Glenn Greenswald, the prior Register author. He has a fantastic thread, can't say it any better, on all the things that went down and the stuff that's not really being talked about. What it's going to do is going to make companies say, or going to wake them up and say, you mean I can be taken offline if I have a violation of terms of service with Apple or Google? So I think smart companies will start rethinking their strategy. And this could put a huge damper on app development. Maybe not, but it could.
Yeah.
And if you can have web apps to do the same thing as a mobile app, why build a mobile app? But for podcasters, you guys are fine. Just breathe. You're calm. There's no issue.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be alarmed about.
No.
What's going on with podcasting right now.
Yeah, Mike. Yes, they've killed about 70,000 Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So. We shall see.
Yes, we will. But anyway, I've just, I've hardly been able to come up for air this week, which is good. And by the way, for those of you that follow the podcast awards, we got the podcast awards trophy. What do you call it? The proofs. Finally. So I sent an email this afternoon about that.
It's great.
Yeah, let's. What else has been going on, Rob?
Well, there's always, James is always breaking some sort of a scandal.
Is he breaking scandals now?
Well, the one today was about Condé Nast.
That's a nasty little letter that they put out. Those people got fired.
Yeah, Todd? Why don't you help me understand this?
I haven't read it, Rob. I didn't read it.
It's this thing that we're starting to see more and more of is companies getting thrown under the bus by their employees.
Rob, where have you been?
I know, but yeah.
It's true.
I'm not saying that it's not true. I just wonder what the people that are doing it, what they're thinking.
Well, they're already fired, so...
I know, but that's going to make it hard for them to find a new opportunity, I would imagine.
I don't know.
You kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit when you do stuff like that. But I guess if it improves things or makes things change, I think that's a little bit of the culture that we're living in now, right?
For some reason, I don't have today's pod news in my inbox.
Well, you can just go to their website.
Yeah.
partnews.net. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. You know, we're seeing more and more criticisms coming out about people, and I guess we've kind of done that too to some degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and fed that flame, I guess. And I guess it's about trying to get people to do the right thing,
Right.
but it's just surprising when employees do it. That's all. I've never been a burn the bridge kind of a guy when I leave a company, if you know what I mean.
Well, I've had very little experience in that. I was 25 years in the Navy and I retired, so.
Yeah, so you haven't had an opportunity to burn any bridges.
No,
right?
I haven't. I haven't had that opportunity, and I don't think I would either, especially if I want to work some more.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of my bigger point is that, you know, it may get headlines and it may get you some accolades for a while, but, you know, yeah, a future employer may be a little more hesitant to work with you.
I'm over on podnews. How do you find the actual article of the day?
You have to scroll to the bottom of the page, and he's got each of the
okay.
Newsletters there. You just click on one of those. The one on the far left, usually the one.
Dude, James, you need to, because I'm over on. Okay, I'll find it. Huh. All right. Well, I guess just missing
the editing software, Descript, I guess raised $30 million in new funding.
$30 million. Descript did?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I've talked to the Descript folks.
Oh yeah.
And
we've talked to them.
And they don't want to really do integration with anybody. They want you to do integration to them. And you got $30 million and you hire a few more devs.
Well, they are pushing the envelope on things over there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, being able to edit your audio from a transcript is, that's also adding things.
Right.
Adding audio from text that's kind of like, that's pretty cutting edge stuff.
So there's also, and I read something separate today, came from a different news source, this New York Times Caliphate podcast. Some of the NPR groups have removed the Daily from their stations over whatever happened with this. And again, this is more about handling of employees, I think. So I didn't really, I didn't go into it and read too much about that either. So
yeah, it's just another scandal kind of news thing. Yeah.
But they did report that Spotify removed a show from Pete Evans. He's an Australian conspiracy theorist. And so called Evolve. There's a lot of really good, if you think about conspiracy theory shows, radio, go back to the radio days, Art Bell, George Norrie still online. Art Bell had the absolute best conspiracy theory radio show ever created. That guy was, rest in peace, but Art Bell was absolutely unequivocally the best. He's gold standard.
But you know what? It was never really linked up with politics. You know what I'm saying? There's all these UFOs.
No, I don't know. I don't. But remember, we were all sheltered because the stuff that happened in politics really wasn't, we were spoon-fed stuff from those, ABC, NBC, and it, we were all mind melded by them in the early, if you think about it, we were all brainwashed by those news organizations because they spoon-fed us what they thought we needed to hear. So
that's kind of what journalism is all about, though, Todd. It's well, I mean, it is. I mean, at its core, that's what journalism is that you're trusting a reporter to go out and get the facts and report on the facts.
Yeah, there's no more journalism. It's just sensationalism. It's entertainment now.
Oh, yeah. Once those journalistic entities merged with the entertainment divisions of the media companies and for profit, because most of the early journalism, as I recall going back, were not for profit entities in these media companies.
Mm-hmm.
They were funded based on other revenue generating activities because they wanted to maintain their independence from the influence of advertisers or others. But what wound up happening is that there was a desire to, profitize every aspect of those media companies, and that's what caused it to happen. And now it's all about building audience. In the early days, journalists didn't really care how many people read, really.
Right.
They were just trying to put out the facts.
Yeah. I noticed that.
We've kind of moved beyond that now.
Yeah. I noticed that your Rob was
Walsh,
talked about today in Pod News as well.
Yeah.
About something he talked about in the feed.
It's been a regular listing of me in there too.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So James and yeah. But it's I think that things that were going on around that have been worked out, and I think there's now clearer understanding of what was going on with podcast 2.0 and at least where Libsyn's where Libsyn is and all that. So
I guess I'll have to listen to my first ever episode of the feed to see what you guys have to say. Because this is the one where he talks about Apple's privacy information.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing too. So
okay, enlighten me.
I'm sure we can talk more about that in the future.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm missing something here. All right.
Well, anyway, there's some, hopefully things can improve on this area, right?
In the privacy front?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's hopeful. I think there's some ideas that are being bounced around on how that can be improved.
Well, we've already determined most podcasters don't care about listener privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Though podcasters, some podcasters care about it.
Yeah, some.
I think other ones see it as maybe if they share that information, then there's some income, increased income opportunities that might be available to them.
Yeah.
But, yeah. We're just going to have to work through these issues as best we can. You start thinking about the listening platforms. They're a big part of this.
Mm-hmm.
As anybody that listens to this show knows. Right.
But I saw I can't talk about it because it hasn't been released yet. Did the IAB release those numbers that they summed up for percentages?
I don't believe so. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. But I saw the draft, and they took a bunch of the IAB members submitted averages on percentage of listenerships in December across platforms. I guess that's the best way to say it. And they're going to be updating that in the IAB 2.1 doc with those percentages, and it's a very telling set of metrics on where the division of podcast listening is still happening. I think I can say without a doubt that Apple's still king.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at some of the platforms, though. Some of the hosting platforms are a lot stronger with listening over on Spotify than other ones. Like, Libsyn and Blueberries, we're about the same. We're like 10%, but we also have a lot of legacy podcasts that are hosted on our platforms. Where you look at some of the newer podcast hosts on the platform, and they typically have higher percentage of listening on Spotify. So I think it's about the composition of the shows.
I think it's also about the content, the type, the age.
Right. It's the composition of the types, the age group to some degree that's creating the content over there. Yeah.
So, but where's the space going to be in 2 years, Rob? Can we predict 2 years?
I don't know. It's hard to think that far out right now. I think things are evolving pretty quickly. I think this is the standard thing that I usually say on this topic is that if you gauge the future based on the past,
Things are going to
things
stay
are
the same.
steady away as steady as she goes, right?
Yeah.
There's not going to be a lot of big fluctuations. Though I would say that the movement towards mergers and acquisitions seems like it's definitely maintaining at a fairly high rate of consolidation.
So, but the question then will be: is all these moves are being made? All this money is being made. Spotify is, banking on. There's an article from Bloomberg. They're banking on podcasting, making them profitable. And when a big company like that is banking on podcasting making them, it is the solution to make them profitable. I sit back and go, wow, that means there's going to be a lot of content that's going to be monetized through advertising. And it might be, and you might not get a dime as a podcaster because they're spending money like a drunk sailor or a drunk New York Wall Street guy, because sailors don't have $300 million. So, these companies have got to make their money back. The iHearts and all these companies that are making major purchases. And you look at the money that Pandora is this, looks to me like, at least from news I've seen, is Pandora is a bit of is bleeding red. And making it.
They're investing in the future. I think all these companies are in a changing model. I mean, the information that I've heard, and we've mentioned this on the show before, is that I think a lot of people thought that what was happening with Spotify with podcasts is that people were spending less time with music.
Yeah. And
that the data that I'm seeing come out, that's just not the case. What they're doing is expanding the listening, not replacing, which means that the savings on music
is not going to happen.
Is not happening. So where they're gaining is on their growth of subscribers and their growth of consumption on the platform.
Yep.
And they're not paying a royalty typically. I mean, unless your name is Joe Rogan, they're typically not paying a royalty to podcasters. So there's no direct cost there, and there isn't even cost for bandwidth anymore because they're pulling it all off of our platforms now. So, there isn't a lot of cost, and there's new subscribers that are subscribing to Spotify. Yeah. So they're getting a benefit from growing the overall listening.
Maybe pass-through wasn't such a good idea, Rob.
Yeah. Well, I think pass-through is good for the hosting platforms because it puts us in a position of being able to aggregate advertising,
and they still
across
can
multiple platforms.
Yeah, people can use ad insertion, and it's not cached anymore.
But that's not going to take away the opportunity that these big companies are going to do around advertising. They may still want to get in an advertising relationship, and I've always said this too. I think ultimately maybe where we wind up is some advertising is inserted by a Spotify, and some advertising is inserted by the host. And that's equivalent to what happened in radio between local ads and national ads.
Sounds like a great relationship for a failed business model.
It is. There's a lot of downsides to that, but I do think that those folks come out of that way of thinking, and we may see some form of that start to develop. I think it gets back to very quickly of ad load. And I think we're already seeing pressure on that. I think that survey that we talked about from Edison was showing that there is some advertising sensitivity in the market right now that's starting to pop up and become an issue. I think that the advertising industry of podcasting is kind of like going, well, it's not really that big a deal. They're kind of pushing it off as being much of an issue.
I think a lot of people
want heavy ad load. Because there's more profits there. So, yeah. And
I think, too, is we know economy of scale. Spotify has it. Now, iHeart, from a they may have a lot of views on their shows on their platform, but they sure aren't doing hardly anything for any other podcaster, for any indies. You know, they're under, I think it was 0.1% or something like that of, not 1%, 0.1% of, global downloads that we looked at. So it's just like, it's almost not even worth being on their platform.
Yeah.
Because no one's listening over there, at least not to those podcasts, on podcasts that we have that are submitted to iHeart. I shouldn't say we, the podcasters that work with us, it's submitted to iHeart.
Right.
When you have the, 4 or 5 destinations consume the majority, 75 or 80% of all podcast consumption, and everyone else is below that line, then there isn't that much diversity in where content's being consumed these days.
Yeah. I think we're still seeing kind of the expansion of podcast advertising outside of the U.S.
Right.
Too. I think we saw in the news a couple of announcements talking about LiveX Live Podcast One signed a deal with a Latin American musician.
But didn't they get acquired? Didn't LiveX Live just now get
acquire?
No, I heard they got acquired.
Oh, LiveX Live got acquired
I'm pretty
by somebody?
sure. Let me go look.
And AdLarge Media just signed a deal with Canada's TPX, which is the TPX folks have been selling advertising into podcasts that are being delivered to Canada. From those ads are coming out of Canadian brands.
No, they
companies.
They weren't acquired, but I thought they were. I thought someone was acquiring them.
I hadn't heard. I would imagine that would have been news in the podcast space.
So they weren't. I thought they had been.
Well, who knows? They might be at some point.
Yep. So, well, I guess, for my perspective here, it's, just keep on cranking. Let's keep the fundamentals going. What we really, and maybe, Rob, what we should do on this show is most of the podcasters are not going to be affected by any of the stuff that's been going on, these big acquisitions. They're still out there turning and burning, trying to get their shows growing. And so maybe we should start taking a closer look at what we can do to try to help podcasters grow their shows and talk about that stuff on this show. I think those of you that listened to last week's show and listened to Danny, if you weren't inspired to, I think there's huge opportunity for shows to build audience. They just got to grind. You got to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that conversation. I regularly have that conversation. I also have shared that on sessions at Clubhouse too. Is that consistency? It's driving your target audience that you're trying to reach with your show. In your genre topic, being seen as an expert, being seen as somebody that's a leader.
Yeah.
Being seen as influential, being just doing all the things that you might do even if you were starting a new company,
right?
Or you're building a company. Those are a lot of the same practices.
I call it building authority.
Right.
You got
to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it takes getting in and doing the grind. It's not
doing
easy
the
work.
grind. Yep.
It's working late. It's working weekends. It's always, unfortunately being on your phone. I mean, you and I, Todd, there is really no weekends for us. I mean, I think we would love to have weekends, but the problem, the issue is podcasters don't take weekends off.
Right.
Typically, they're working on weekends.
Yeah.
So, and that creates a situation. And then I'm also working with people outside of the U.S. too. So, it's around the clock. I've been living this life for a long time. As long as I have my phone in my hand, I'm reachable.
Yeah.
And now, Clubhouse has come on, and there's podcast sessions that I can get involved in that have 200 or 300 people in them that are going on at 2 a.m. So guess what I'm doing sometimes. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and it's probably not good for my sleep pattern. But
3 o'clock in the morning? Are you insane?
Between 2 and 3 in the morning, occasionally. Occasionally I'll do that.
Okay,
yeah.
so here is, how old are you, Rob?
Do I have to say?
You're in your 50s,
I'm
right?
in my late 50s, yes.
Okay, so I'm in my mid 50s.
Yep.
You're not a puppy anymore.
I'm not.
You know, you got to pick your battles because
Well, I eat
you're going to
well.
be sitting at your desk at 9 o'clock in the morning. You're going to stroke out.
You think so?
Dude, I become to value my off time more and more. Although I really don't truly get off time, I try in a big way
Yeah.
to actually disconnect. I'm just going to go back to the adage. I can't save them all.
Yeah.
You need a clone that's 25 years old that you train to go do that work. That has they can do 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
I
feel
obligated.
I feel fortunate, Todd, because I'm able to do something that a lot of people would love to be able to do. So
I agree.
Helping people chase their dreams that they have.
I think you're in a position different than what I'm in. Imagine being Lori.
Well, I'm not running a company.
Right.
You're in a different situation.
That's right. So
guess what? I don't own a company.
Well, I'm a part owner. I have partners.
I have owned companies in the past. A few. So I used to own a restaurant too.
Right.
I owned a restaurant for 5 years. So I know about working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Sleeping on the floor in the bathroom.
Ooh, that sounds gross.
It can be. But it was my bathroom and I kept it pristine clean. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think I'd have found a couple of tables to push together and slept on the table.
Yeah, I had a spiral sliced ham restaurant in a mall in Seattle next to the University of Washington. So for 5 years, and it was a deli and restaurant stuff. So
yeah. Restaurants and bars, you're married to them.
Yeah, it was in a mall, so it was open 7 days a week, and sure, I had to hire staff to manage it when I wasn't there. But
you know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen when I start telling my team members we need to start hanging out on Clubhouse? There's going to be like a revolt.
Yeah, but they're not having to travel to conferences right now.
But it's 7 days a week, 3 o'clock in the morning. Come on.
You don't have to do sessions at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just telling you that occasionally I'll stay up that late because what goes on there is that people will start sessions for people that are coming out that are in Europe, right? Or in Australia or whatever. So it's during the middle of the day for them. So anyway, that's...
Who's watching this? Who's watching this right now in the chat room that would stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning and chat?
It's not. It's talking. It's not.
I know it's chatting. It's talking. It's the same thing.
I know, but there's stuff that you can learn over there.
Okay.
Seriously. There's some. Like I was on a session last night that had Mark Andreessen in it. The Mark Andreessen that was the founder of Netscape,
right?
That created the internet,
right?
So. And Steven Sinofsky, who ran Windows at Microsoft for many years.
Yeah,
he was in the same session too. I was my little icon was sitting right next to Tony Robbins last night too. He was in listening. The big inspirational speaker.
Oh yeah,
Tony Robbins.
That's the guy I want to be associated with.
Well, I know, but still, I'm talking about prominent kind of leaders that are involved in this app now.
So you're forcing me now to go over there and go. It's hanging out
over there, so I can badger you on the calls, just like I do here, right?
Right. Well, you don't badger me too bad.
But. I know I don't. I'm just teasing you. But yeah.
Yeah, there's just not enough hours in the day. Everyone who's listening to this, go over and hang out in Clubhouse. And you guys, everyone that's here's what we do. Everyone in this listen to this show, in some form or another, probably agree with many of the principles that Rob and I have put out. Become our proxies, please. Go over there and take the PhD in podcasting that we have provided to you.
Yeah, well, I agree with that,
You,
Todd.
you guys go over there and be our proxy.
No, be a leader, right?
Right. Or, yes, be a leader.
And a positive leader, too, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to foster
There's
new leaders.
there's
I'm not gonna be around
there's something
forever.
on Adam Curry's show. There's a jingle that is something about replicating the formula.
Right.
So go ahead and replicate the formula.
Right.
And help us out. I don't
After
have the
we're gone, who's going to take
I'm
over?
not going anywhere anytime soon. You
Right.
know, my mile marker hasn't been called yet.
Your mile marker hasn't been called yet.
No.
Yeah, mine hasn't either. I'm doing just fine. I'm healthy as all get out. I'm ready to go. So let's make it happen.
You work in 18, 19 hours a day like I used to, and you won't be healthy for long.
Oh, but Todd, I've been doing that for 16 years now, so I'm good.
Yeah. All
It's
right.
called denial, right? Todd? Is that what they call it?
Believe what you must.
Right.
You know, I was basically working until 9:30 last night, and I collapsed after I was done. Stick a fork in me. So there's no. First of all, if I have a full day and everything that's been going on, and then I have to go home, get some dinner, and
Right.
then drink another Red Bull and
Right.
get ramped up to get in and have a 3-hour conversation about podcasting, I'm going to walk into work the next morning and I'm going to be like, whose head can I bite off right now?
Right.
Because this is not 5 days of conference. This is going to go on 365, 24/7. It's not
Right.
sustainable.
Right. Well, and you start looking at this medium becoming a global medium, and that adds a whole other dynamic. But Todd, I was living that world when I was working for Spreaker, right? I was the only U.S. representative that worked for Spreaker for 2 years. I was the only one on the ground in the U.S. for that company. So I was spending time in the evenings and in the mornings talking to Europe, right? And then during the day, it was, taking care of the U.S. market.
I hope they were paying you a huge pile of money, because you know what? Have you ever seen an armored car following a hearse?
I hear you, Todd. I get it. Yeah.
Martin, I love Red Bulls, so yeah, it's probably 5 a week right now. So
Yep. I'm a long ways away from retirement, Todd, though.
that's okay. That's up to you.
Yeah.
10
Well,
more
because
10 more years. I'm going to, I'd like to work about 10 more years.
Yeah. Well, I think if when you sell your company, that will be probably what you do, right?
Hey, if you have a big fat check, come on, I'll retire tomorrow. But the check's got to be really fat.
Speaking of big fat checks, Gage over at StreamYard, I'm sure had a
holy smokes, he could retire.
Payday.
Yes, he did. I don't know what his equity split was, but a $250 million acquisition, that's a yahoo.
Well, from what I know, he only had one other co-founder.
Wow.
And I think there was only a couple other people in the company.
That's incredible.
And I don't think he took any venture capital before the acquisition.
I don't think so either.
So,
good for them.
That's huge. Can you imagine? He's set for life. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a young kid, though.
Yeah,
he's a young guy.
You're still set for life.
I mean, he's like, I don't know, he's 30 or something?
Yeah, set for life.
Yeah.
Buy the Lamborghini and a yacht and see the world. Even at $1 million a year, he can, if it's invested correctly, he can do okay.
Yeah. And, the whole transaction with Wondery, too. I'm sure that Hernan's doing okay.
Well,
Yeah.
you guys, we joke about this, but here's the deal. We know who breads our butter. I'm not going anywhere.
Right. And
Even if I get,
I'm not
even if
either.
I get
I'm not either. And these are realities in the market. These are what are happening, but they don't happen very often.
No. And actually, in all reality, companies that are not venture capital based typically don't get big exits. So the guys at StreamYard did very, very well for not having venture investment.
Well, look at what happened to Podcast One.
Well, they had a rich guy that
didn't have a strong exit.
Well, only 18 million. So,
yeah.
But they got some other money halfway through from. So it's more like 25 because they got 6 or 7 million from the radio company, and then got another 18. So,
just by chance, I have Hubbard Broadcasting on my screen in front of me.
How that is. All right, someone go put some money on Hubbard.
Well, I'm curious. I never heard what happened to the investment percentage that Hubbard had.
I'm sure they got paid out.
So I'm sure LiveX Live basically either probably paid them off on that 10%. So they got their money back, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know, though, because I can't remember how much they put in. I think it was between 6 and 10 million.
Yeah, I think it was. So, I thought it was like 7 something, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I thought it was like for 30% of the company.
I'm glad that
30% of 18 million.
I'd like to have a friend like that.
Yeah.
You come in and give me 20 million. I'll give you 15%.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. But yeah, the radio industry is still. I think they're making some changes.
Yeah, they're worried about their long-term viability.
That's a nice way of putting it, Todd.
There's a radio station here in town, Country Station 98.7, and we had an ice storm recently, and it made the local Facebook group, and they could only be heard like within a mile of their tower for like a week. And I'm thinking to myself, you can only reach an audience about a mile around the radio station because you got ice on your antenna. If I'd have been the GM of that thing, I'd have been out there hitting the base of the antenna with a sledgehammer, trying to knock the ice off. But they said we have to wait for it to warm up. Well, what if it hadn't warmed up? So
that's a new type of deplatform,
right? Deplat yourself from an ice storm, So
frozen out of your distribution.
So they,
right.
That just is a telling of, they can turn the internet off on us, but as long as you pay your internet bill, you're probably okay. So that's a different kind of problem radio stations have. They've got all this infrastructure they have to maintain. And obviously, they've automated a lot of it and reduced staffs, and stuff is on playlist. And there's not really a DJ in the studio on Saturday. You're just hearing the DJ that recorded it on Tuesday for 3 hours and then was told to go home. Did the whole weekend show, and so radio it's got problems. It's not just technical ones, but it's our kids are not listening to radio.
Hey Todd, tell me about your deal and your integration with the Podchaser folks.
We just made it a simple integration. Shows can submit to be on Podchaser. So all we did was basically allow us to their API is not ready yet for the other data that they're mining. So now it's just purely people can submit their show to Podchaser.
Okay. So there isn't any sharing of host information,
not yet,
anything like that,
right? Not yet, because their API is not ready. And maybe I don't know if I was allowed to say that or not, but sorry. But they're building that. They're building.
Well, that's what they're doing, right? But they want to be a comprehensive catalog of all the podcasts. I know that's what they've been wanting to do for a long time. So
and they've got. Oh, I can't say that either. They've got some announcements coming, and I think that they're going to be someone to watch.
Yeah, they're pulling together. They're trying to become, really even beyond the IMDb of podcasting.
Well, you saw they did some integration with Spotify, so.
And they've rolled out the new taxonomy stuff. I was involved in that.
Yeah, I was invited to that. I haven't had time to stick my nose in.
I didn't really contribute much to it. They had it well under control, but it certainly was something that I had an interest in for the Podcast Academy. So that was something that was shared also with the Podcast Academy to help us kind of all. I think that was the purpose of the taxonomy, really, is to get the industry together and use common referential terms to describe certain types of job titles and things like that. So,
but the question is it going to be followed?
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. It's not like it's going to make a difference in anybody's revenue or anything. I think it's, so is everybody paying attention to the taxonomy? That is the other question, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to be socialized wide enough to be widely adopted?
Yeah.
I don't know that has happened.
Well,
maybe we should socialize it more, but I don't know that, some of it's kind of common sense stuff, though.
Right. Sorry, I'm having to reply to an email. Got a podcaster that needs help.
That never happens.
I'm just sending this email to Mike. Mike, if you're listening, I've got one for your inbox coming at you.
Blueberry customer support on the new media show today.
Yes, right? Absolutely, right here.
So anything else going on?
I think people are, I think we're going to have a slow news time for a couple of weeks.
What? Oh, why is that? Because of politics?
Just because of everything. Yeah, I think so. I think people are being very quiet.
I think a lot of people are fairly traumatized about what's going on. Yeah, I did notice also the Buzzsprout announced that they're going to have support for dynamic content for every podcaster on their platform.
What does that mean? Dynamic ad insertion?
Yeah.
So why do they call it dynamic content?
Pre-rolls and post-rolls. I don't see any mention of mid-rolls.
But that's not dynamic content. That's ad insertion. Why would they call it dynamic content?
Yeah. That is an interesting change to the concept. I agree with you. I don't know that I disagree with using that terminology to describe it, but maybe that's probably a little more inclusive of a bigger agenda there than really what this is actually doing. I think dynamic insertion can be used for lots of things in addition to advertising.
Right.
I did that when I was working for Podcast One. We used it for cross promotions. We used it for brand ID audio. We used it for segments of shows too.
Right.
So you can actually, the dynamic insertion technology is not necessarily exclusively can be used for just advertising.
Right. It can be used for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I don't disagree with what they're doing there. But in this context, they're saying that it's going to be used for pre-roll and post-roll insertion, which in some ways isn't really insertion. Is it? I guess it.
Well, it still uses the same technology. You have to rebuild the file.
Yeah, but it's not actually taking a physical location, a timestamp location in the middle of the content and injecting it into the MP3 file. You're basically bolting it on to the ends.
Right.
If you're doing just pre-roll and post-roll.
Yeah.
They're not saying anything about mid-rolls here in this announcement.
Right.
That I can see anyway. I'm looking at the announcement right now, which is where all the value is. is in the mid roll.
Well,
In my
you know,
view.
I've taken
In my view.
I've taken a different stand on that. I was usually, I was very, very negative about. You said, "Oh, pre-roll." I was very negative about pre-roll for a long time.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah, are you less negative about it?
yeah, I am because everyone's selling pre-roll. So
I think
been
it's
doing
how it's
pre-roll.
done. I mean, I really liked what Leo Laporte typically does with pre-rolls. They'll do a brand ID in a pre-roll position, but then they'll do a host read in the middle to support that brand ID at the beginning of the show. So, do you keep an eye on what Leo's doing these days?
I
Much
haven't
anymore?
listened to anything from Leo in probably more than a year.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I haven't even been to Twit, you know. So that's, you know, in that you know, I saw him at CES last year.
Yeah, well, we both
And
saw him together, I think, right?
at CES, yeah, maybe.
No. I saw him at Podcast Movement.
Hmm.
Remember in Orlando? Remember?
Yeah,
I think you were there when
Yeah, I
he
did.
walked by and was so upset with us.
so I'm looking on his website here, and he's still cranking, but I think Leo's on the clock. You know, based on what you and I heard together, Leo wants to retire
Yeah.
at some point soon, and he only did a certain amount of lease on his location he is in now. So
Right. It's a smaller studio than what he used to have.
Right. And he's not, you know, I think he only signed a 5-year lease with the plan to retire, but and I don't even know what shows are on Twit anymore. I have nary a clue.
Well,
I'm looking
it's a
at their
lot of the
website
same
right
ones.
now.
I mean, I think he's launched some new shows. I mean, if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, I've got it here. So, you know, here's the thing too is, you know, staff, if someone gets popular on Twit, it just seems like they don't stick around very long. Or,
Well, you know, I'm conflicted about this because I think what Leo's doing over there is good stuff. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he's part of the conversation anymore. And I'm not quite sure why.
well, he calls them podcast now. It's on the
Well, he
website that
changed
says
that.
it says podcast.
Right.
So how many shows it got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 22 shows. So pretty big list of shows. But
Yeah.
Steve Gibson's been with him for years.
Right.
A lot of these are anchored by Leo.
You know, like Windows Weekly has been going on forever.
So
you got Mac Break Weekly, a Mac show, and that one's being done by a couple of new folks, it looks like.
with Leo anchoring it. iOS Today, I don't know who any of these people are. All about Android again. So.
And Jason Howell's been around for a long time.
Yeah. So
I've
again,
known him for years.
let me count here. How many? Okay, there's 22 shows. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Jason's doing a lot of shows over there.
Let me look here.
Looks like-
6. It looks to me like 7. So of the 22 shows, Leo is anchor on 7 of them. Steve Gibson has got his, you know, he carries Security Now. But so what happens if Leo retires to those 7 shows that he anchors? Do those shows continue? Will they survive? This Week in Tech doesn't. That's gone if he retires. And again, what we're basing a retirement on is the conversation we had in the hallway at NAB.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Todd, what do you think? You think I should reach out to Leo and invite him to come on?
yeah, I'd love to
see if
have
he'll
him
do
on.
it?
Absolutely. Yeah,
At the very
absolutely.
least, we can probably get Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa or Leo would be great. Either
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, because I just wish these guys were more part of the podcast conversation that's going on out there.
You
I
know,
think it would be good for their company. I'm not sure
well,
why I have that perception about what's going on with them.
they don't need to be part of the conversation. They're an established brand. They're doing their thing. They're making money. Why upset the apple cart? Okay, here's the thing.
No, but it's not upsetting the apple cart.
No.
It's getting the word out to newer to the industry. I have yet to see him listed in like Pod News or anything.
I don't blame Leo for not participating. Here's the thing. Here's a guy that's doing 7 shows a week, and
well, he's busy.
He's busy, and he has to keep his eye on the ball. I have to keep my eye on the ball in podcasting. Leo needs to keep his eye on the ball on Twit. I don't blame Leo for not participating in the podcasting space. He would have great influence if he did.
Well, that's part of what I'm talking about, is that he's got so much experience and so much influence coming out of radio, right? I mean, I'm assuming he's still doing his nationally syndicated radio show, but I don't even know if that's the case.
Well, I would assume. But again, I don't blame. You have to pick your battles, Rob. It's just like I'm telling you, you're going to now start hanging out 3:00 in the morning on this new platform.
You're talking to the guy that was working the Podcast Academy for the last 5 months. So
that was your choice.
Spreading myself thin.
That was your choice. That was your choice, my friend.
No, I agree, but it's something that I want to stay relevant in the space.
Well, I can stay relevant in doing what we're doing here and talking to podcasters, but
Well, we're in a different situation than Leo is.
No,
definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're hosting tens of thousands of podcasts. So we have to be in the middle of the conversation because we're always wanting new people to host on our platform. So we always, that's why I'm really engaged in Clubhouse, is because there's so many new podcasters over there.
Well, you should tell the other Rob to take up the slack.
What's that?
Tell the other Rob to get involved.
The other Rob?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Rob's a member over there. And so's LC, and so's Dave Jackson. They're all active over there. I don't know that Rob has joined any sessions over there, but I think I think it's coming.
Well, I will probably wander in, but I'm not staying up to 3:00 in the morning.
No, I don't think you have to do that. There's plenty of them going on during normal hours.
Because the challenge then really is agenda. So if I go over there and I can gain 50 new Blueberry customers, well, in a week, I'm going to be over there a lot. But, I'm not in the business of recruiting, and I don't want to go over there and be a shill.
No, I'm not doing that either. I'm not over there. People will ask me about Lipson, but it's not a regular thing.
Yeah.
It's more talking about the issues in the medium and helping new podcasters that are involved in the platform understand the history of the medium. I mean, I heard on the session that I was involved in last night, people expressed to me, I was actually in 2 different groups last night, but expressed a desire in this room to understand more of the history of the medium and to help them get perspective on why things are happening the way they are. Because this industry is getting more complicated.
Well, it's true.
And our knowledge and our background is becoming rarer and rarer.
Yeah.
And especially rarer because of the willingness to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And to some people, I don't know that they care about the history of podcasting in some ways, because they're more focused on how podcasting is going to help them going forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can learn from the past.
Oh,
what's worked, what hasn't worked, right?
But okay, so here's what happens, and maybe because it's voice, it's not as confrontational, because when I'm responding to people and trying to give them context on a Facebook post,
Right.
it just, it's run the gambit in responses. So maybe I become a little bit jaded in actually going in and putting in, because it feels like I'm saying the same thing over and over and over.
Well, it
and over.
is. Oh, totally. I think about that every day. It's like I just go, can I keep doing that? It's one of those things. It's like you start getting on this treadmill.
Yeah, and you feel like you're on a broken record, and
right. And that's where some of the cynicism that happens on this show comes from, is that we get tired of talking about the same thing over and over and over again. But you kind of have to do that when there's so many new people, though. But
at what point do you become that dude?
Yeah. There's definitely a danger of being seen as a curmudgeon that doesn't evolve and doesn't change to the modern times, and you're an OG and all this kind of there's definitely a slippery slope to that.
There is.
Question. Yeah. It's the risks that we take.
I don't mind being called an old curmudgeon, but maybe I'm jaded too a little bit. So
I'd be completely honest here. I am that way too. So
you listening to us again, you need to become our surrogates. You need to go out and share the formula. And probably this isn't appropriate right now, but as Adam Curry say on his show, No Agenda, you got to punch him in the mouth. So
I'm not. No, don't misunderstand us. I'm not looking for you to clone the cynicism. What I want you to do is clone the positive side.
Right. And everybody's been listening. If you've been here for 426 episodes, and you will, you will have known the history of podcasting 15 times over. So
So take that information, massage it around, and make it a story that's inspiring and.
Someone's listening to this show today says,
"Field of flowers."
Someone is listening to this show to say, "Let me the hell out of here."
These guys have lost their minds.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's not the real world that we live in, Todd. It's all about cynicism now.
Martin says, since 2006, I've inspired 10 plus individuals, companies, and organizations to start podcasting. And that's a lot of podcasters have that on their resume, because people have, I know my personal show has sparked hundreds of shows over the years, and most of them are no longer here, but it sparked hundreds of shows from my podcast, not this show, from my tech show. And I'm proud of that as well. But there's over 1 million podcasts right now, and it's just, there's a few of us. So we were mentioned in some Facebook posts of 3 shows to listen to: us, Ray Ortega's show, and the feed. They said those are the 3 you should listen to. And I appreciate someone, promoting us in that Facebook post.
Yeah.
But there's
the Ray Ortega one is the Podcasters Roundtable.
Yeah, the Podcasters Roundtable. Right. So, but there was, there's 40 other people doing shows like these. And to be honest with you, I don't have time to listen to them. So if you're listening to other shows, then are our perspectives different than what you're hearing on other shows? I don't have time to listen, but probably if I listen, I'd get pissed off.
Well, and now James Cridlin has his Podland. I was on there as a guest last week.
I didn't even know he was doing a show.
Yeah.
When did he start that?
Well, he's doing a show with Sam Sethi out of the UK. So it's James, and so that the English accent is all over that one. So and it's I do appreciate what James has done a lot, and that's bring a global perspective to the podcast medium that was so sorely missing. You just look at his newsletters and how many links and stories that he has in there to things that are going on.
He's got a very
Australia and Asia, and
let's not he is doing very well financially with that show, with that newsletter. So he deserves credit for it. I'm not denying that.
Right. But, he has, challenged me here lately to some degree. So
I think, that's okay. I'm just going to be frank.
Yeah.
Come on. You're a public face in podcasting. You're just like me,
I can take it.
Yes.
Me. So
don't get your knickers all messed up.
I'm not, but other people in the space have gotten their knickers up. So
why?
Just because.
Oh my gosh.
I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's what it is.
So we're actually over time, but what did you think about the piece that was in Podcast Business Journal about the Podcast Academy, the person that he interviewed in the commentary?
Oh, about whether the $100 is worth it?
Right.
I mean, that wasn't any kind of a place piece or anything. I mean, it was completely a random member. I'm sure that there's going to be more articles like that coming out from the journal, but I thought it was an optimistic view of what the Podcast Academy can bring long term. I mean, I remain to be optimistic. I'm not the chairperson anymore,
right?
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to have influence and not going to be involved in the activities of the organization until my term runs out, and
right.
Then I'll be replaced by someone that's voted in by the membership of the organization. So this being appointed thing is just a temporary thing to get the organization started. And I'm hoping that another new organization will be formed that will be truly more of a industry organization, more like a trade organization. So that's what I'm hoping for.
All right.
At some point.
Okay. We're going to get out of here. We're long. And I've had
long-winded again? Is that what we are talking?
This is 5 hours for me today in the chair. I need to stand up for 2 hours. So okay. I need to go buy groceries too. So I'm out of food in my refrigerator. So that's a priority today.
You are too busy.
Well, yeah. And what's funny is we're not like.
I think you're more busy than I am, and I'm on Clubhouse. So
we have this is rural America. There is no, you have to go get your groceries. You can't have someone pick them up and bring them to you.
Well,
there's no Uber, there's no Lyft, there's no Uber Eats, so.
I don't use any of those services myself.
Why not? It's time saver.
Oh, I'm not that much of a. I actually enjoy going to the grocery store. I spent, 5-6 years of my life working in the grocery industry. So
you enjoy going to the grocery store?
I do enjoy going to the grocery store. Costco is my favorite shopping trip.
I haven't been in Costco in 18 months because it's an hour and 15 minutes away. And I don't like Sam's, which is 45 minutes away.
Yeah, well, I've shopped at Sam's before too. But anyway, we're completely off topic now. So.
Yeah, we are talking. Anyway, someone to do my grocery shopping for me. Coldwater, Michigan. Let me know if you're close. All right, everyone.
It's a social get-together opportunity, right?
Yeah, with social distancing and wearing a mask that stinks. Yep, so.
Right, there you go. Wash that.
I did. I forgot to throw 3 of them in my laundry yesterday, so I was cussing myself. I had to go to my reserve and pull out 2 new ones because I didn't wash the 3 I'd wore last week. So, all right, everyone. All right. Thanks for being here. I'm Todd at Blueberry.com at Geek News. Go around, spread the formula that we have provided you here. Get on Clubhouse, repeat and deliver for us so we don't have to go spend time there and be there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. I can be found on Twitter as well at Rob Greenlee, and I have a website, robgreenlee.com, plus I have an email too, robg@libsyn.com. You can send me an email if you have any comments or questions. I think we got an email from a listener that was going to do something around T-shirts.
Yeah, we might have some T-shirts soon. So here's what you can do. if you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're watching wherever you're watching from, you can always go to newmediashow.com. There's a PayPal link there. Every dime doesn't go to Rob or I, it goes to paying the bill. So, because I do procure a bill for the multicast stuff. So, if you can help us offset that, that would be great. And that doesn't come out of my Blueberry budget. That comes out of my pocket. So, everyone, thanks for being here and being part of our little family.
You. Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.